The trees didn't move. The wind didn't blow. But something screamed. Jace froze in his steps. The sound came from deep inside the jungle, sharp, desperate, and not from any animal he knew. It wasn't a beast's roar. It was a voice. A girl's voice. And it was crying for help. He dropped to one knee, rifle ready. His eyes scanned the thick green around him. Steam hissed from the moss-covered ground. The massive leaves above made everything darker, almost like the sky had vanished. Another scream, this time shorter. Choked, and then silence. Jace's boots pressed into the damp soil as he moved forward, fast but careful, pushing aside branches and ducking under twisted vines. His heart beat louder than his footsteps. Suddenly, he saw them, 3 aliens. Thin, tall, with glowing blue eyes and gray-green skin. They were gathered at the jungle edge, speaking fast in their native tongue. One held a cloth soaked in blood. Jace approached slowly, hands raised. "I'm not here to fight." They turned quickly, but didn't run. One stepped forward, female, older, eyes full of pain. "You are human," she said. "You should leave." "What was that scream?" Jace asked. "Who's out there?" The old alien looked down. Her hands trembled as she held out the bloodied cloth. "My granddaughter," she whispered. "Lyra? What happened to her?" "The Devourer took her." Jace narrowed his eyes. "The Devourer." The others hissed quietly, looking away. The old alien continued. "It is not beast. 'Tis plant, alive, a mind. Inside the jungle, it eats, it speaks, it learns. And once it chooses, one comes back." Why was she out there? She chased her pet bird. Just for a moment. And then, vines came from the trees. They pulled her in. "We heard her scream, and you didn't go after her?" Jace asked. "We cannot," the woman said. "Even our warriors don't return. The Devourer doesn't kill fast. It wants to understand. It keeps them alive." Inside, Jace's jaw tightened. He looked at the dark vines reaching out of the jungle-like fingers. Where, she pointed without a word. Her hands shook. Jace turned. No hesitation. "Wait," the old woman called. "You will die." Jace looked back once. "Then I'll die trying." She's still screaming. And then he vanished into the trees. The jungle swallowed him fast. Every step forward was like diving deeper into water. The air grew heavier. The sounds of life bugs, birds, even wind disappeared. Jace gripped his rifle tight. He'd trained on Earth, fought on alien worlds, seen monsters and machines. But this felt different. The plants were too still. The vines too thick. Like a trap waiting to spring after 10 minutes. He found something. A feather, blue, still warm. Then another scream. Closer, muffled like coming through walls. He ran now, dodging. Roots ducking under low branches. The scream came again, shorter, weaker. Then the jungle opened, and there it stood. A massive, living creature shaped like a flower, but the size of a small house. Its petals were thick as armor, glowing faintly from the inside. Vines spread in every direction, pulsing slowly like they carried blood. He saw bones scattered near its base. Helmets, weapons, all covered in moss. Jace stepped forward. The plant pulsed once. A voice filled the air. Not spoken, not heard. Felt, leave. Jace gritted his teeth. Not without the girl. Silence. Then the plant moved. Its petals opened slowly, and a deep hole was revealed in the center, glowing wet, humming with strange energy. The smell of rot and honey filled the air. And then, faint. He heard her. Help. That was enough. Jace took a deep breath and dove into the monster's mouth. Asterisk. He wasn't falling. He was being pulled as soon as Jace jumped into the monster plant's open center. Something grabbed him soft, wet, and strong. The tunnel inside wasn't made of stone or soil. It was alive. The walls flexed around him, squeezing, guiding, breathing. There was light but no sun. Glowing patches along the walls blinked softly, like eyes watching. He tried to slow his descent, but his boots slipped against the pulsing surface. The deeper he went, the warmer it got. Not hot like fire, hot like blood. Then, the tunnel spat him out into a large chamber. Jace landed hard on one knee, rifle still in hand. The room was round, like the inside of a giant fruit. Thick vines hung from the ceiling, and strange shapes bulged from the walls. Bones, weapons, half-digested gear from other people who came before him. And there, floating gently in the air, was a helmet. It was cracked. Burned, it still had a name scratched on the side. ZELN, Captain Dam, Jace whispered. This place has been feeding for a long time. Then, the voice came. Not heard, not spoken. It just entered his head. You should not be here. Jace spun around. Show yourself. You entered without permission. That is not allowed. Where's the girl? He shouted. You took her. I heard her scream. She is mine now. The walls shifted slightly, like the whole room. Took a breath. Vines moved, but not randomly. They moved with purpose. Like arms stretching. Like nerves reacting. I'm not leaving without her, Jace said calmly. The voice inside his head grew sharper. Others said the same. They were delicious. Suddenly, the ground pulsed. From the center of the room, a massive vine shot out covered in thorns. Jace rolled away, just in time. The vine struck where he had stood, sinking deep into the wall. With a wet crack, Jace raised his rifle and fired. The bullet hit the vine butt instead of blood. It oozed thick, green sap. The vine hissed, recoiling. The plant let out a soundless scream in his skull. You can feel pain, Jace muttered. Good. But then the lights flickered. The floor below him moved again. A new opening appeared, a tunnel leading deeper. Jace hesitated. It could be a trap, but he heard it, faint, far away. Help. Still alive, still calling. Still hoping, Jace tightened his grip on his weapon. All right, monster, he whispered. You want to play games? I'll play. He stepped into the tunnel. The deeper he went, the stranger it got. Some of the walls had faces, not real ones. Impressions like people had been pressed into the flesh of the plant, screaming. Arms reached out but were frozen in place. Ice. Stared from the surface, blind. Jace moved past them without a word. He didn't know if they were real, or if the plant was showing him nightmares. Either way, he wasn't stopping. He reached another chamber smaller, more closed. The air here was heavier. It smelled like crushed flowers and smoke. Then he saw it, a floating orb of light, pale pink, glowing gently. He stepped closer. It flickered and showed him. A memory, Lyra, the alien girl, laughing, chasing a tiny bird through the jungle. The bird flew ahead. She ran. Just a few steps further. Then vines burst from the ground. Wrapped around her legs, arms, waist, she screamed. The image disappeared. Jace's fists clenched. The plant wasn't just feeding. It was watching, studying, collecting memories. The voice came again, softer now. You burn brighter than the others. Is interesting. Jace's jaw tightened. Stop digging in my mind. You fear me, but you also hate me. That makes your flavor. Sharp Jace raised his rifle again. Touch her again, and I'll rip your heart out, Teven, if you hide it behind 1,000 vines. Silence then. A low hum, the plant was. Laughing, come, human. If you want her, come deeper. Let me taste your soul. Jace didn't blink. He stepped forward. The tunnel opened again, and the hunt continued. The tunnel sealed behind him, no going back now. Jace paused. The air inside the living passage was thick, warm, and wet like a creature's breath. With every step, the floor squished under his boots, and it felt like walking through muscle instead. Of mud, he wiped sweat from his brow. His flashlight flickered. Not because the battery was low, but because something in the walls didn't like the light. He moved deeper. The walls began to shimmer, like oil on water. Strange shapes danced along them, half-seen faces, twisting limbs, mouths without voices. Sometimes they whispered, sometimes they screamed. But then he heard her again. Please. It wasn't loud. It wasn't strong. But it was real. Lyra, he called, voice steady. Hold on. I'm coming. The voice in his head returned, quieter now. You are deep enough. Why not rest? She is resting. Let her go, Jace growled. She is learning, and I am learning. From her, so young, so scared, but still dreaming. Jace didn't answer. He pressed forward. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber larger than any before. It looked like a cathedral, but made of flesh and light. Hanging above, thick roots stretched like giant ribs. On the walls were glowing pods, and inside them, Jace gasped, people, aliens. Maybe 10, maybe more. All floating inside clear jelly. Alive, barely. Their eyes moved. Their chests rose and fell. But none could speak. The plant was keeping them, feeding. On their thoughts, using their minds like books, and then one of them floated forward. Not alive. Bones inside, rotten flesh. His hand still clutched a small human flag patch. Stuck to his chest, Jac recognized it. It was from Earth's 6th expedition lost 20 years ago. I'm not going to be another page in your diary. He muttered. He turned away from the pods and spotted another tunnel, dimly lit. He took a step, and the floor shifted. Suddenly, he was falling. Straight down, no time to think. No time to shout. He crashed into thick liquid green. Sticky, warm. He thrashed, breaking through the surface. He was in a pool, no, a stomach. All around him, plant fibers curled and flexed. The space smelled like old fruit and blood. A low thump echoed through the chamber. A heartbeat not his. He was inside the plant's living gut, and it wanted to keep him. Jace, a voice said, barely above a whisper. He turned quickly. Across the chamber, wrapped in vines, was a girl. Small, thin, gray-blue skin. Big eyes glowing faintly with fear. Lyra, he breathed. She blinked slowly, like waking from a dream. Her body was half-wrapped in soft vines that pulsed like veins. A thick one was gently connected to the side of her neck. He stepped forward. The voice came again. This time through her lips. If you touch her, I'll make her scream. Jace froze. You're using her voice now, he said coldly. I'm not using, I'm merging. She is part of me now, her pain, her joy, her hunger. I taste it all. She's not yours. She is. And so are you. Jace raised his rifle and fired at the thick vine connected to her neck. The shot rang out. Sap exploded. The vine hissed and recoiled. Lyra gasped, her body trembling. More vines shot toward him, trying to grab his arms, legs, neck. Jace rolled away, dodging them. He fired again, then pulled out a heat torch from his belt and ignited it. The flames licked the vines. They shrieked in his mind and pulled back. He reached Lyra. She was weak, eyes glassy. Can you move? He asked. I don't know, she whispered. He tore the remaining vines from her body. she whimpered as they peeled off like skin from a wound. He picked her up and turned toward the tunnel, but the walls were closing. "You will not leave." The plant howled, but Jace didn't stop. He ran, torch in one hand, Lyra in the other. The floor trembled beneath his boots. The plant's heartbeat quickened. "You were different," the voice said, fading. "But now, you are just food." Jace didn't listen. He ran into the dark, carrying the girl who was no longer screaming. Asterisk, a T. The jungle didn't breathe anymore. It pulsed like something beneath. The roots was alivened. Angry Jace felt it in the soles of his boots. Every step forward carried a silent threat. He held Lyra close, but she was barely conscious. Her eyes fluttered. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. The tunnel ahead narrowed too, quiet to calm. That was the problem. Jace had been inside this monster long enough to know. When it went quiet, something worse was coming. He entered a chamber darker than the others. The walls were smooth, no vines, no pulsing light. Just silence and dark dot until the floor began to glow beneath his feet. Slowly, like a heartbeat. First dim orange, then red. Then a ring of light formed around him, then another, larger one, and another. Each one spread outward, as if the plant was scanning him. Then a low voice echoed not in his head, but in the room itself. For the first time, the plant spoke aloud. "Put her down." Jace turned in place, holding Lyra tighter. "Not happening. You've passed the threshold. Carry my core now. I carry a girl who wants to go home. She is part of me. And now, so are you." Jace looked down. His arms were shaking. Lyra's skin shimmered, most glowing faintly, like the plant's light. He touched his own neck. His fingertips came away sticky. Green sap, the plant was already inside him. "No," he whispered, "not now." Suddenly, the room lit up in full. A massive creature unfolded from the ceiling. Not roots, not vines, a shape, tall, twisted, almost human but clearly grown. Not born. Its face had no eyes, only an open circle in the middle. A hole that breathed. It stepped forward slowly. Jace raised his rifle. "I don't want to hurt you," he said. "But I will." The plant creature tilted its head. "Hurt me," it said in a soft, childlike tone. "I gave you breath when your lungs were weak. I gave you light when your heart flickered." Jace's vision blurred. His knees buckled. The plant was poisoning him. "You feed me now," it whispered. Lyra stirred in his arms. Her voice was soft. "Don't let it in." Jace closed his eyes. He reached into his pouch with his free hand. Inside, wrapped in foil, was a plasma charged short range. Powerful, enough to burn through reinforced alloy. He didn't want to use it, but now he might not have a choice. "You won't win," he said. The creature stepped closer. "I already have." Then it stopped. The light in the room flickered. Lyra opened her eyes wide and, for a moment, her voice sounded clear. Pure hers. "It doesn't know everything," she said. "It doesn't understand why you came." Jace stared at her. She looked right at him. "It's never known someone like you." The plant creature stepped back like it was in pain. Jace realized it was scared. "Yeah," he said, gripping the charge tighter. "That's because I didn't come to feed you. I came to break you." He dropped Lyra gently behind a thick root and activated the charge. The plant creature screamed loud and long. The entire chamber shook. Tall walls, cracked vines flailed from the ceiling like blind serpents. Jace pulled Lyra up, tucked her against him, and ran toward the far wall now, splitting open from the force of the blast. The voice inside the room shrieked in many tongues, full of rage and pain. "You were supposed to stay." Jace shouted back without turning. Too bad. Humans don't follow your rules. And he ran through the fire and light, carrying the girl the monster couldn't break. The walls weren't closing anymore. They were breathing fast, uneven. Like monster was panicking. JC pulled Lyra through the splintered tunnel, the plasma charge still flickering behind them. The explosion hadn't destroyed the plant, but it had wounded it. Now the beast didn't seem so invincible, but neither did Jace. His arms were trembling, his legs weak. The plant's toxins were still in his blood. Every few steps, the ground shifted under his feet. He stumbled but refused to fall. Lyra was half awake, clinging to his chest, whispering something in her language. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. Don't stop suddenly. The tunnel ahead twisted. Vines shot down from the ceiling and slammed into the ground, blocking the way. More vines coiled around them in a wide circle. A voice filled the space. Not angry this time. Low. Let us talk. Jace raised his rifle. I'm done talking. You lit a fire in my roots, the plant said, its voice inside the air. But you haven't killed me. You can't. Not without killing her. Not without killing yourself. Jace looked at Lyra. Her skin was pale, glowing green again. Faint pulses traveled up her neck. He checked his arm, same green glow under his skin. The plant had been telling the truth. It was inside them now. What do you want? Jace asked. I want you to understand, the plant replied. I have lived for thousands of years. I do not destroy for fun. I absorb. I study. I learn from every mind I take. I never expected a human like you. Jace frowned. You mean one who fights back? No, one who would burn himself to save someone not his own. Jace stared into the vines, into the glow where the voice was strongest. You've had centuries to learn, he said. What have you learned about mercy? The air thickened enough to offer you a choice. Jace said nothing. She goes free, the plant continued. You stay. I learn from you. Not by force, not by pain. You speak. You teach. I listen. I grow. You want me as a teacher. Yes, a guest. A mind unlike any other. I taste rage. In you, pain, love, loss, so much data, so much fire. I crave it. Jace looked down at Lyra, then at his gun, then at the charge still blinking red behind them. He could detonate it remotely. End everything. Kill the monster. Kill himself. Maybe even her, or try something else. Lyra, he whispered, can you hear me? Her eyes fluttered. Jace. He touched her face gently. Do you trust me? She gave the faintest nod. Then he looked up. All right, beast, he said. I'll bargain. The vines loosened. The air shifted. Then speak. But I don't stay forever, Jace said. You let us both go when I say it's time. If you break the deal, I'll destroy your core, and this time I won't miss. Agreed. But I'm not teaching you everything, Jace added. I won't give you weapons. I won't help you conquer. I do not want power, the plant said. I want understanding. A thing I have never truly had. Jace felt the vines pulling back. A clear path opened through the tunnel. The light ahead wasn't red. It was blue dot, clean, safe. He stood with Lyra in his arms. You have one human, he said, for one mind's worth of stories. But you'd better listen. And together, they walked down the path to a strange peace made between hunter and hunted. For now, it should have been over. The deal was made. The path was open. The light was waiting. But monsters lie. Jace had barely taken 10 steps down the glowing blue tunnel with Lyra in his arms when the ground began to tremble. First soft, then harder. then violent. The roots beneath his boots snapped upward like whipcords. The walls twisted. The tunnel behind them sealed, and ahead. The blue light turned red, deep red, JACE. Cursed and spun around, shielding Lyra with his body. You promised. He shouted into the air. The plant's voice didn't answer. Something else did. A roar. But not from the plant. Something inside it. Something worse. Core breach detected. A robotic voice crackled faintly from the far end of the tunnel. Jace's eyes widened. One of the old human devices, maybe from the lost expedition, had triggered a meltdown. A forgotten weapon buried deep in the plant's heart, now finally waking up. And it wasn't alone. The ceiling above cracked. Roots broke. Liquid gushed. Flames surged up from below. The plant wasn't attacking them. It was dying, but it was dying. Loud, and it didn't care who it took with it. Hold on. Jace muttered to the weak alien girl in his arms. He ran. The tunnels shifted wildly now. What had been a living maze was now a collapsing body. Walls fell. Roots split. Some chambers exploded in fire. Others flooded with green sap, rushing in waves. Lyra clutched his jacket weakly. Is it ending? She whispered. JC didn't answer. He didn't know. T knew one thing. If they didn't get out in time, they'd end with it. He took a sharp turn into a side passage, dodging a falling vine thick as a tree trunk. It smashed behind him, sealing the path forever. He followed the air current's now cool wind, faint and sharp. That meant outside. That meant hope. But then he stopped. Ahead was a wall of twisting vines, too thick to cut, too alive to burn. And behind them, rumbling footsteps. Not the plant, not roots, something else. From the shadows emerged a shape, tall, thin, pale. A humanoid, but not human. Its skin was bark-like. Its face featureless. It looked like it had grown inside the plant, shaped by it. A guardian. A last defense. You don't have to do this, Jace said, voice hoarse. The creature didn't speak. It raised its arms, and vines grew from its fingertips. Like whips, Jace shifted Lyra to one arm and raised his rifle with the other. One shot. That's all he had left. The guardian charged. Jace fired. The shot pierced its chest, but it didn't fall. It grabbed him by the throat and slammed him into the wall. Lyra fell from his arms with a gasp. JAC single quotes S vision blurred. Then a soft voice. Leave him alone. The guardian paused. Lyra stood, barely able to lift her hand. But her eyes glowed brightly, now not green, but white. The plant's energy inside her had reached its limit. She raised both hands and screamed. A wave of energy burst from her. The guardian cracked, then shattered. Jahi fell to his knees, coughing. Lyra. He gasped. She collapsed. $2, but behind the guardian, the wall of vines pulled back, and through them, sunlight, the jungle. The outside, Freedom JACE pushed himself up, limping toward her. He picked her up one last time and stepped out of the belly of the beast. Behind them, the jungle rumbled. The sky filled with thick smoke. The ground quaked, and the plant, the ancient, thinking, hungering plant, let out its final sigh and died. The jungle was still burning. Ash floated through the air like black snow. The trees near the plant's lair had collapsed, scorched and twisted. The birds had gone silent. Even the wind seemed afraid to blow too hard. Jace lay on the ground, barely breathing. Beside him, Lyra stirred. Her skin still shimmered faintly. The glow from the plant had faded, but not completely. She opened her eyes, and the first thing she saw was him, bloody, bruised, alive. Her small hand reached out and touched his chest. You didn't leave me," she whispered. His eyes opened. Slowly, I said I wouldn't. Above them, the sky cracked open with the roar of arriving ships. Alien rescue flyers. The villagers must have called for help after hearing the explosion. Figures in armor dropped down and rushed to them. Medics? Healers, one shouted into a comms device. "She's alive." And wait. The human is alive too. Get them on stretchers. Jace wanted to speak, but blacked out. When he woke again, it was night. A soft light glowed around him, alien tents, quiet machines, healers moving gently. He tried to sit up, but a soft voice stopped him. "Rest, warrior." It was Lyra. She was sitting beside him, wrapped in clean robes. Her face was no longer afraid. Her eyes were no longer hollow. She was smiling. "You look better," Jace muttered. "You look worse," she said. Tilting her head, they both laughed. Gently, then came silence, but not an empty one. She looked at her hands, at her skin. "Plant, it's gone." He nodded slowly. "You killed the Guardian. That was you, not me. It was both of us." Another pause. Then she said softly, "I don't know what I am now." Jace looked at her. "You're Lyra. That's what matters." She turned to him. Her voice was serious now. "My people won't understand. They'll say, I've been changed, that I'm not clean, not pure." "Then they're fools," Jace said. "But you came for me," she said quietly. "Not knowing who I was, or what I'd become." "I didn't care," he replied. "You screamed. I heard you." That was enough. She stood then, took a breath, and did something no one expected. She knelt beside his bed. "I make this vow," she said, loud and clear. "In the name of the jungle that tried to eat me. In the name of the monster that wanted my mind. In the name of the human who dove into death. I will follow you." Jace blinked. "What? You saved my life. You gave me hope when I had none. You taught a beast what courage looks like." "I didn't do it for a reward," he said. "I'm not offering payment," she said, her voice proud. "I'm offering choice, my own." "I'm not going to be a hero forever, Lyra," Jace said with a small smile. "I'm just a man." She grinned back. "Then I'll follow just a man. The one who made a monster feel fear." Later, the village gathered. They expected a broken girl and a silent human, but instead, they saw two survivors, one glowing with quiet power, the other with eyes that had stared into a monster's soul and never flinched. When the elders asked what happened inside the jungle, Lyra stepped forward and said only one thing. "He didn't come to fight the monster. He came to bring me home." And every head bowed. Not to the jungle, not to the gods, but to the human who had shown what real strength was.